Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and today I've got an old friend of mine that is the first time that we're meeting finally, which is crazy because I remember when I started this whole film journey series, Tony was in my mind to talk to, but once I got to this certain spot, I was like, I dwindled down, and here we are back again. But Tony, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this series. I love it. I love this series. I enjoy watching all these collectors and your conversations with them. So I'm very happy that you finally asked me to be a part of it.
Well, I'm glad that you said yes, and like I said, I had you in my mind the whole time, and it's just getting around to it. But yeah, I hope this time is this all this change has happened, and a lot more things have happened with movie memories, right? And so,
Yeah.
but anyway, anyone who is new to this is the film journey where I have a guest and we go through a timeline of their history with the medium, right, and their favorite films and what it means to them. Right. So we start off with early memories. But actually, before we jump into that, I want to ask Tony, what are you currently watching?
Currently watching, I just got finished with the Alfred Hitchcock month. So I've been watching a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock films. I tried to focus on the ones that I had never seen before, which was fortunate that we just got that new collector set.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had never seen any of those films. So I watched those. I really enjoyed them. And so, yeah, I've been watching Hitchcock.
What was your favorite of that bunch?
Do what?
What was your favorite of that bunch?
I don't know. There was so many good ones that I had never seen. I like I forget the name of some of these because, like I say, I've watched so many. Something about Harry.
Oh, yeah, when The Trouble with Harry.
The Trouble with Harry, yeah.
Yeah.
Trouble with Harry. I enjoyed that one a lot. It was a good. It had some comedy in it. It was it was Shirley MacLaine's film debut. I just really enjoyed that one. And then Saboteur was good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Lifeboat. I saw that for the first time.
Oh, okay. So the Kino Lorber. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one too. There's so many good ones out there. My least favorite was Alfred Hitchcock's last film that he did.
Was it The Family Plot?
Family Plot. Yeah. It just I don't know. It just kind of fell flat with me. It wasn't terrible, but right. It just wasn't. It just felt kind of weird.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it's oddly it's a 70s movie, like, but it feels very dated, right?
It does. Yeah. And then just watching the special features afterward, because I'm always a big fan of the special features. Just seeing how he was, he just seems Alfred Hitchcock seemed kind of I mean, you could tell that he had aged and right. He wasn't doing well. So that was kind of sad to see that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you had a journey, though. I mean, I know a lot of people jumped into that Hitchcock month. I was able to get those sets, but I had the old previous Blu-ray,
right.
Had all those movies. So I haven't seen the 4Ks yet, but I did.
Oh man,
watch those British the Kino Lorber British International. So those silent, yeah.
I still need to get that set. I've heard mixed reviews about it. What did you think about that?
About half the films are definitely worth it. I mean, you're not going to get them anywhere else, and
right.
those types of film. And there was actually some really good restorations, which I actually quite enjoyed seeing
good.
that. Now that I will say, I know you brought up The Family Plot being your least favorite. I think The Manxman in that set is probably the worst movie I've seen that he's done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just very drawl, like, and dry. It's kind of a family, dual kind of battle of the sexes, but families and stuff. But no, it is a good set though. It has some good features in there. Now I'm blanking on the names. Of course, the Ring I really like, which is about a boxer, and it's like a love triangle. He loves Hitchcock loves love triangles, right?
Yeah, he does. Strange fellow.
Yeah, and everything he does, and it's like you're weirdly projecting yourself, Mr. Hitchcock.
Yeah.
So
did you happen to watch the Hitchcock film that Anthony Hopkins did?
Yeah, I watched really that good. In April, actually, for the first time.
I did too. I watched it recently for the first time and really loved that. I love the way that they portrayed him. It made me feel closer to him. I thought they did a really good job, especially with his wife.
Oh yeah, no, it was almost like that. She was a spotlight in this, and I really like that aspect because I mean, who played her?
Yeah, what's her name?
Yeah.
I can see her. I just can't think of her name all of a sudden.
Gosh dang it. And it's all the way across the bay, but anyway. Yeah, you can look it up while we're talking about this, but shoot. But I really like the slice of life kind of biographies. Like, I mean, Jackie and Spencer was a really great example of, like, I just want movies that if they're gonna do a biography, just pick a time, like just like a little slice of it. Like, you don't have to do the whole life. You don't have to do the whole thing, right? And that's what Hitchcock felt like. It was, I mean, it was more or less like a year and a half of a particular time period. So I enjoyed that aspect a lot about it. So did you figure out who the actress is?
Helen Mirren.
God, of course. Everyone in the comment section's already like writing down, like, you didn't know that. So, but what else besides Hitchcock? Have you watched anything else?
Yeah, so I watch a movie every single day. Today I actually watched Daddy's Home with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I'm a really big fan of being able to laugh at a movie, and people had been recommending me to check that one out for a long time. So I finally watched it, and I had a lot of fun with that one. It's not a masterpiece, of course, but I definitely laughed during that one and really had a good time with it.
I still haven't seen that. I know there's two of them, right?
There is.
Yeah. And for some reason, for a second, I thought you said like "Come to Daddy" is like, oh, the Elijah Wood slasher. It's like, oh no.
Have you seen that one?
I have seen that one. That one.
I enjoyed that one. Yeah.
It's a weird one, but
it was a weird one. I enjoy those weird ones.
Yeah, but Elijah's good. But yeah, very different. Daddy's Home, Daddy.
Right. Yeah. So this is Daddy's Home with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell films always make me laugh. I always have a good time watching. He's just the biggest goof, you know.
The Other Guys is actually my favorite Will Ferrell film.
And that's excellent.
In it. There's so many one-liners in that movie that just I quote a lot in my life. TLC, any TLC reference, like, are you referencing TLC? And no.
Yeah.
But well, that's good. Those are some good recommendations for what you're currently watching. So
every month I actually do a video of what I watched for that month.
The Letterboxd.
Like I just put out what I watched in May, and there's some really good ones that I watched at the beginning of the month, but to remember them off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what they are. I just have to go to my Letterboxd account and look to see what I watched, you know.
I do the same thing. I mean, May was, I don't know what it was about both physical media releases, like the volume. Plus the amount of stuff I watch. I'm like, how did I have time to watch that? Exactly. Like, I don't remember how I had that time. I guess that's why there's 31 days in it. So
exactly. Yeah. Now, did you happen to catch Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers on Disney Plus?
I did. And I loved it.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Such a surprise.
It was a big surprise.
It was.
I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was coming, and
I had no idea either until I saw it on social media constantly. I thought somebody keeps on talking about it. I better go check it out.
That's what happened to me too. It's like everyone was
talking about it. When that happens. That kind of happened with the Mitchells and the Machines.
Which I've still not seen. I know.
You should check that out. It's a really good, fun movie.
I've heard that's a lot of people's favorite animated film of last year.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So
I love taking a break from the serious stuff and just getting lost into an animation type film or comedy or anything like that.
Well, I just watched the first 3 Scary Movies.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I've never seen those before.
Those are trash. But they came out at a time in my life where I enjoyed it. So I'm like, you know what? I want to turn my brain off, and there you go. So
that's kind of what the Police Academy movies were for me growing up. Yeah.
Good movies though.
Yeah.
Well, not good movies, but fun movies.
Exactly. Not good movies at all.
No. Okay. Well, that reminds me. So, thinking about earlier life, right? What would be your first memory with film?
Yeah. So I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and I always remember going to the drive-in and going to the theaters. Growing up, I saw movies like, I remember some early James Bond movies, like For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy. I remember seeing those as a little kid. It's amazing what films I saw when I was little. My parents took me to everything. But stuff like the Disney films, the animated movies like The Rescuers, Benji movies. just a whole hodgepodge of different style films. I saw the original Friday the 13th in the theater.
Wow.
Just all those classic ones you think about. I
How
got to see.
how old were you when you saw Friday the 13th when it was
Um, I think that came out in 1978, I believe.
something like that?
Yeah, so I would have been 9 years old.
Of
Yeah,
course. Just
yeah.
you're just allowed to with a
As long as
parent.
my parents were with, as long as the parents went with us. So I actually have an identical twin brother, and we have another brother, 13 months older than us. So we were always going to mostly we'd go to the drive-in theaters, because they could just put us in the back seat and we could just, watch the movies. But yeah, I always remember doing that almost every single weekend, and I've pretty much kept that up through my whole life growing up, going to the films, and as you can tell behind me, I love watching
What?
movies. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have do you have any drive-ins around you still?
No, there's one in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, but it's not worth the drive of going over there. I would love to go
Sure.
try it out, but I wish there was, I almost thought that there's going to be a comeback of that when the
The
pandemic
pandemic.
hit,
Yeah, yeah.
which would have been great, but I guess people couldn't afford it to
I
fix
guess
places.
it's pretty hard to like the equipment would be
Yeah,
harder to because I mean you had to get that big screen, you got to get electricity. Also, I think about
exactly. But it would be wonderful if someone would do that. I think what they used to do would they would do like a flea market and then the drive-in. So they would have a flea market during the day, and then they would have the drive-in movies at dark, which is a pretty good concept.
yeah, it's definitely where I live. I think the closest drive-in is about 35-40 minutes
Oh yeah, that's
for
probably
me.
about the same as me.
Yeah, but it's like
Actually, a little bit further than that.
once again, that's not necessarily always worth it to go do that.
Yeah,
Obviously, this time in the summer, it's a little bit better, especially when
yeah.
it starts getting nighttime, and that
Mhm.
dusk settles in. But yeah, I have some fun memories. I don't have early memories with the drive-in, but I wish I did. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess with the drive-ins, was there any movies in particular that like really stood out to you, like that like had a lasting memory in your head or
Nothing in particular. I almost want to say Freaky Friday, the original Freaky Friday movie with Jodie Foster and what's her name? I can't think of her name. I just saw her in Family Plot, I believe, the Hitchcock film. Um,
Mhm.
but anyways, Freaky Friday, I kind of remember that one at the drive-in. But there were so many. It's really, hard to remember that far back. I
Sure.
do remember seeing Jaws at the drive-in, but I was in middle school when that came out. But I remember seeing that in the drive-in. I love Jaws.
Not
Yeah,
not too. Were you afraid to go into the water after that?
nah,
Eh.
it didn't bother me any.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been that actually that's I don't know if I've mentioned that on the channel before, but like so I teach, and so
Right.
I do a question of the day sometimes, and my question of the day because I teach public speaking, and that is a
Oh,
very fear-based thing for a lot of people.
yeah.
So one of my questions is always like, what's your greatest fear? And like, just talk about irrational ones like arachnophobia or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, it's like being in the ocean or any kind of water that you can't see anything. And
Mm,
like that freaks me out like so
yeah.
much. So like a pool's fine. See through river is okay. Like,
Mm,
a gulf where you can see things in the water, like
yeah.
that's manageable, but don't put me in that murky water.
And
So
I never really was around the beach growing up. We always went to the mountains because I'm in North Georgia area. So we would always head to Tennessee mountains or, whitewater rafting, that kind of stuff. We never really went to the beach. So I guess that's why I'm not afraid of sharks because I've never seen one.
that's true. Yeah. I'm pretty landlocked where I'm at. I'm literally dead center in the country. So, I mean,
Okay,
there's
yeah.
lakes around here and some hills, but yeah, still just I'm more afraid of like the snakes
Oh, yeah.
and all that stupid stuff. But anyway, it's irrational fears.
But
So
that's
what
pretty
was,
good that you do
yeah,
public speaking. You teach public speaking.
yeah.
I can picture you doing that. You got a good voice that carries like that.
I just do this a lot. Like, all right, here's how we talk. Speaking of Will Ferrell, it's like, what do I do with my hands?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
do I put them down when we're talking like that? That reference is starting to get dated now with my students, of course. But yeah, always fun. What would be that next step for past like the drive-ins, like once you were getting into your teenage years? Do you remember
Yeah,
anything in particular?
so teenage years, I remember buying our first VCR, and I actually worked at a video store growing up. So when I turned 16, I got a job at the local video store, and I loved that job so much. Just being able to talk movies with customers, and as a 16-year-old kid, just being around movies all day, I just love that. And I do remember buying as many movies as I could. I still have a ton of VHS tapes in the collection.
Okay.
They're just stored away because I don't have room. But just the whole VCR phase, going through all of that. This wasn't even like a Blockbuster or a movie, Hollywood movies or anything like that. It was just a mom and pop's video store. And so that's my next phase, I guess, was really getting into collecting VHS tapes and recording movies off the TV.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that. TV shows on DVD was a big deal for me growing up. Anything that I enjoyed watching as a kid, classic TV shows like Lost in Space, Ultraman, all those kind of things. I wanted to get as much in my collection as possible. And I would just record that off the TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of that going. I wish I really would have held on to those VHS tapes, those recorded VHS
Yeah,
tapes.
I wish I kept mine too. I think my dad's a hoarder. So he might still have them.
I got hoarding tendencies.
Well, I picked up some stuff from my dad, right? But
Right.
luckily I know where literally everything is. So that's a step in the right direction. I'm collecting,
Exactly.
not hoarding.
Right.
Not yet. So yeah, there was any particular VHSs you remember like renting that like stood out?
Footloose was one of those that I remember getting Footloose on VHS. It was a big deal. I grew up in well, actually, me and my wife both grew up in a very religious household, and mostly my wife. My wife is the preacher's daughter that I married.
The
And
Footloose.
she never really got to go. She didn't go to movies. She didn't get to go see a lot of these things until she got, in her high school years. So I enjoyed taking her to be able to go see movies like Gremlins, Footloose, Beetlejuice, all of those classic films that you think of in the 80s. And having her first experience of seeing all those films was a big deal. And just being able to buy those on VHS tape afterwards, or even DVD, But, thinking about it now, we're still married we've been married almost 35 years. She could care less about any of this stuff. When she likes going to the movies with me and stuff, but this stuff right here, she could care less about it, which is a good thing, because if she told me I couldn't buy anything,
what would you do?
I would, what am I going to do? Leave her or leave the collection, right? But yeah, it was nice being able to share those movies with her growing up.
Well, I'm glad that you guys. I mean, part of me also thinks like whoever you're with, like you got to like your own things, right? Like that. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you got to have your escape to the stuff that you enjoy. So I'm glad you have those earlier memories, with her.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure, like you were saying, you still watch movies.
Yeah, and we just went and saw Top Gun Maverick over the weekend. So she loves going to the movies with me. But just being down here and watching movies on the TV and stuff, she could care less about that.
I got other stuff to do, right?
Right, exactly.
So you mentioned even DVD. So what was that transition? I mean, were you working in the store when that transition happened?
No. So when the VHS stuff kind of fell off to the wayside, I was in my early 20s, and I remember our first son was born when I was 21, 22 years old. And at that point, the VHS was kind of dying out. I do remember collecting a bunch of the Disney VHS tapes and those big clamshells.
Yeah.
When they were born. And then that started transitioning into the DVDs, the Disney DVD stuff. And I remember transitioning into that at that point when they were young kids. They were big into the Power Rangers. And I remember having the Power Rangers on, I guess, a little box VHS tapes.
Yeah, I had it too.
Clamshells, but you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I had it.
Them getting, that was pretty much the phase out from the Disney to the Power Rangers. And then as they were growing up, it was more like buying the Batman, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those kind of superhero type films.
It's flooding back into my mind in the
They were
90s.
they were born in 92 and 95. So they
Yeah,
might
I'm the same age as your
Yeah.
oldest. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it makes me feel old.
Nah. Well, I'm bald. Remember,
Yeah,
I'm getting older. So I purposely made myself older to
yeah, right.
to adapt to myself. But yeah, no, those 90s movies hold a special place in my heart too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah. I guess the next DVD step. So you were already collecting
Oh,
before
yeah.
that. So you
I haven't quit collecting since
haven't quit collecting.
Yeah.
So what was that? Or did you like move a lot of your VHSs into DVDs? Was like that was, or did you keep both?
Yeah, so I still got it. I kept the VHS tapes. Now, when it came to the DVDs, my main focus when I started getting the DVDs was the Disney stuff, which is on that back wall. And then the TV shows on DVD is my big thing. And that's in that whole other room. So there's another room that's just like this one next to me. That's where the theater is. And that's where the DVD, TV show type stuff is. And there's just a whole shelf of just a bunch of shelves full of that. So that was what I was really focused on, was just the TV show stuff. So I didn't really start getting into the films. So I really went from VHS tapes to Blu-rays when it came
Okay.
to the movies.
But DVDs were more or less Disney and TV shows.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Or, like the Freddy Krueger movie.
Right. Here and there.
Big sets.
Yeah, you'd splurge.
Yeah.
So I guess what was, I mean, I asked this, like a month and a half ago or whatever when I did it, but like, do you remember your first Blu-ray?
Yeah, it was Twister.
Nice.
That was my first Blu-ray. I bought it at Circuit City, and I'm thinking I paid around $30-something for that movie.
Yeah.
It was very expensive. I remember how expensive. I thought buying TV shows on DVD was expensive, but I remember my first Blu-ray, that Twister, for whatever reason, I want to say it was like $30. That may be way out of line.
No, I think you're right.
I got it from Circuit City. It was very expensive.
I think
and that's probably why I didn't buy so much at the beginning. I didn't really start building the collection like this until things got into a more manageable price range. Because we were raising a young family too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, 2 kids, and this didn't happen until the kids were grown.
Which is a good move financially, right? Of course. It's like, listen, it's either you get food tonight or we're gonna have to buy this Blu-ray. Yeah. Like, it's like, what would you rather do? It's like, right. Watch this movie. Would we
feed the kids?
yeah, feed the kids for sure, 100%. So I you brought up that Twister. Did you buy that early on in the format? Like, was it?
Yeah. So, there was the battle between Blu-ray and HD.
DVD. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never bought. I had a friend from church that had started buying. Their code collection was that HD.
Yeah,
exactly. And I thought, well, I'm not going to buy those. I don't think it's going to make it. It's not going to make it. And so I started buying the Blu-rays, and then the Blu-rays won out. And as soon as that happened is really when I started collecting the Blu-rays. Just the movies that I loved is what I wanted.
Right.
The things that had nostalgia to something that was nostalgic for me. I didn't go crazy until later on.
And now we all are here now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Did you because I mean, like, this that transition reminds me of, like, I mentioned Avatar was my first, was back in 2009, which was a couple years that Blu-ray had been out, but like it hadn't really taken over really that much, kind of like how 4K was the first few years it came out, and now it's starting to really pick up steam. It really is now. But that's what I remember in Blu-ray. I didn't really start, I think a lot of people the same way. I mean, other content creators, it was in the last 5 to 7 years, I want to say, is when this renaissance just, everyone's doing all this stuff now.
That's the last 4 years is when I started really building up my indicator stuff, my Kino Lorber, my Criterion. All of these things is what I started really focusing on. That's what a majority of this over here is the boutique stuff. And then over on this side of the wall is the Criterion, which you can't see it in the camera shot, but Yeah, I just kind of got crazy with it, and especially during the pandemic.
Oh
When I
yeah.
was at home, we were working from home during that time, and I was online all the time. Just
Yeah, it's easy
I
to.
found out about 101 Films. I found out about so many different labels that I had no idea about, and I just started wanting to get all of them.
It's dangerous, but
It is
that's yeah, because that's I mean the last that I mean pandemic times were both good and bad for people to rediscover some
Oh yeah.
things that they haven't seen, or I mean even those streaming services, right? Like I mean
Mhm.
I
Oh
use
yeah.
that more, but I
Netflix.
also finally jumped into all the movies. I'm like, oh, but also I'm browsing, so I'm gonna buy stuff too. So
Yeah.
it's dangerous. I guess since we got to the recent times, thinking about some of the more recent memories with film, uh, what kind of was it? Just starting this channel? Was it also just like starting just in the community in general? Was that really what ramped up this whole entire process of what we're doing now?
Yeah, I think so. I've been doing YouTube for almost 10 years now. September the 11th will be 10 years this come September. And when I first started out, I was pretty much just kind of wanting to show. I wanted to meet people that had the same kind of. My collection was nothing like this back then. But the very first video I did was the big Harry Potter, big old box thing that kind of opened up and did all these
Mhm.
little things. And I wanted people to see what it looked like, because nobody that I worked with or family members, they could care less about it. I thought there's got to be somebody out there that wants to see what this looks like.
Right.
I just did my first video doing that, and from there, people started commenting on it. I thought, oh, there's other people out there that like to buy movies. And as the years progressed, you get acquainted with so many different people
Mhm.
online, kind of becomes like a family, and they would recommend movies and I would recommend movies, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And I've met probably over the past 3 years, I've met the majority of the people that I'm close to.
Yeah.
People like Stephanie, Movie Chatter. Um, I speak with David. Cartoon Fortress was what his channel name used to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Film Collector Archive now.
Yeah,
We talk on the phone.
I remember when he was just a subscriber to us, like
Yes.
before he even started his channel, and I
Right.
remember that very well. So
Yeah, even probably over the last years, when I've really got closer to, or during the pandemic, and then up till now, it's just like a really big community of people that I just enjoy talking with, and they got the same interests as me. You got that shelf behind you, all these things. And like you said, you're talking about the people that you go visit. I
yeah,
haven't done that yet. I haven't met people in person yet, but I would be willing to. I'd be willing to have people come over and browse the collection. But yeah, it's just a nice community of people.
it really is. I mean it's been spoken about a lot, but at the same time, like it really is nice to kind of have friends in different areas of the world.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm lucky enough to where I live. I've had friends who I used to work with that like have
mhm,
their own podcasts, and like they've been on my channel before, and they have their own channels and stuff too. And I've been lucky enough to do that, and I've been able to visit proximity wise. But I would love to go like to the East Coast, for instance, and just see
right,
all my friends that are all over there.
right, right.
Uh, you know,
We
uh,
should have a convention or something, right?
yeah, something, or like at some kind of hall, like well, like I like the idea of like going to different cities, and and like it's like, hey, let's go to the store that we like to go to, if there is a local store,
Right.
to go to, and then just like I don't know, something with something, a convention. I don't know, that'd be fun
Yeah,
though.
Star Wars Celebration just happened in California. They all meet. I'm thinking we should have some kind of celebration for the movie collection.
Where would we meet though?
Yeah, that's true. Where would we meet? We'd have to meet at the last Blockbuster store that's still open, if
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I got like an email from them. I want to say like a month or two ago. So I think they're still around. So
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah,
yeah. All right.
maybe
So
there'll be a resurgence of the Blockbuster stores. Wouldn't that be
I mean, we
something?
are the Blockbuster stores now,
That's true.
but at the same time, it's like don't touch this. Get your own. So
Exactly. Yeah. If they want to borrow one, they can borrow the DVD out of the set.
yeah, yeah, yeah. little bit self-service, but that's fine. I guess moving away from some of those memories, but also like thinking about some of your favorites, right? What are some of your favorite films? I mean, like growing up, but also to where you're at now.
Yeah, so I love the Star Wars films. The original trilogy is my favorites. I love Spielberg. I love John Hughes. All those nostalgic type films. Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, Some Kind of Wonderful. Those feel good movies. Can't Buy Me Love. All of those films from the 80s. I love that because it brings back so many memories. Footloose. So anything that really brings back good memories. They may not be the best films, but that's what makes me feel good to watch.
Yeah.
I enjoy those. I love horror films. I love the classic horror, such as Frankenstein, The Wolf Man, all those classic ones. I really enjoy those. Slasher films. You know, I have a soft spot for Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th franchise.
I still haven't. It's behind me, or somewhere. It's over there. You can't see it. By that Halloween mask off camera, but it's right there. I've only seen like I think the first and second movie.
Oh, really?
The sixth one, which is Jason Lives, which I love, which I just randomly saw randomly, and I know it's one of the best.
Right. Yeah.
People have said.
I love Disney films. I love the classic Disney films. The newer stuff that Disney's been doing, I'm not a big fan of. They're not terrible, but they just don't have the magic that I feel when I watch the classic stuff. I enjoy the classic stuff. Yeah, those kind of anything that makes you feel happy or sad, just those deep emotions. If you just watch a movie and it doesn't do anything for you, then it's just dull, you know. I like to feel something.
I think a common thread, well, probably for why we're all here and like what we're doing is exactly what you're saying. And like why, like, you know, for me, Princess Bride, Fantasia, I can just use those two examples to the left of me of movies I've seen since I was a kid. Right. And they have like really embedded in my mind. And I know a lot of other people too. It's like, well, that's the reason why we do this. Right. It's like, we go to those movies because like that's what made us fall in love with them too. So I completely get, you know, going to those feel good movies. I was like those are my favorites because, you know, clearly I have a lot of good memories and that's why I'm into this silly medium. Right. So,
or if you go to the movies, you know, I do a lot of movie watching that I have no idea what the movie is going to be about. Just a surprise, just walk in.
Same.
So I had that kind of experience with like Parasite. I had no idea I was going to go into a movie and read subtitles. That was actually the first movie that I had to go to that I had no idea I was going to read subtitles, but I just loved that movie. It was just such a big surprise. Another one that was like that is Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. What's the name of that movie? Crap, I can't think of the name of the movie all of a sudden. But anyways, it made me sad. It made me cry in the movie, and I hardly ever cry. But just anything that makes you feel an emotion that you're not used to, and something that's surprising that you're going to walk in to see something that you never knew what you were going to see, and you just love that movie. Have you ever seen the movie The Father?
Is that the recent one that came out 2 years ago or a year and a half ago? Or yeah, I have it on the shelf, but I still haven't seen it.
Oh, you got to watch that movie. Well, and I say that because I know how I experienced the movie, and it makes me think, oh man, this person's going to love this movie. I want them to see it. You know, Stephanie's the same way. Movie Chatter's the same way. She'll see something and she'll want to know if I watched it yet or whatever, because, you know, you had that experience with it. You expect other people to have the same experience, which I would hope that they would. That's what I love. I love it when people recommend movies to me that I never knew about and just love the movie.
Well, that's a great thing about us is like, luckily we kind of roughly know what we like. Like you can tell kind of.
Right.
Steph is a great person to give examples of that because she generally knows kind of the stuff that we like, and then she'll recommend something, and she'll be like, "It's like I think you'll like this." And I mean that's what happened. I think she talked about Saint Vincent, the Bill Murray movie, which came out like 2014, so long ago, but. I recently just watched it and I was like, wow, that was actually pretty good.
It was.
I had no idea because it just looks. I mean, I do not like the poster art. It looks
Right.
like it looks like trash. So I
Yeah.
was like, why would I be interested in this? Well, because Steph told me to like check it out, and like I did. I'm like, oh, surprise. So
The movie I was thinking about was called Beautiful Boy.
oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I saw it in my independent
Yeah.
theater here.
I don't know. I just love that kind of stuff. But yeah, any kind of movie that makes you feel something, that
Feel something.
any kind of emotion, right?
Yeah.
I see you got the Wicker Man set behind you. That was my first time watching it when I got the imprint set.
Okay.
I'd never seen it before. Been very surprised about it.
It's weird.
It was weird. I don't know that it was worth $90-something weird.
Sure.
But I had to get it.
Yeah.
It wasn't $90-something weird enough, but I got it.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely, I mean, I'm majorly into folk horror. And I know a lot of people watching this know that, but because like The Witch is probably of the 2010s, that's my favorite horror film. So that was honestly kind of kickstarted. I had watched The Wicker Man long time ago, but like a weird movie, didn't really connect with it. And then since I watched that, then I watched Hereditary, Midsommar, and then I was like, I like this genre a lot. Let me go back in time. Then I got that Severin box set, and I'm like, I'm deep in the rabbit hole, and like I don't know what I was missing. And so now I just absolutely love The Wicker Man. So yeah. But
it's a shame it's delayed a little bit later in July now for The Witch second sight release.
I got that email too. Yeah.
I did see that you've got your Drive box set in.
Yep, I sure did.
And it looks so much better in person than what I thought it was going to be. So I'm very happy about it.
It's very nice.
Their images that they used for their on the website just didn't look good.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I was not expecting the amount of content in there. Which
that's great.
I also got this just recently.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah,
yes, I still got to dive into that.
So great movie. I mean, I watched the Criterion, so it's a great movie, and that's probably going to be pretty similar. Probably a new restoration, just like a little bit more. But speaking of films that we're talking about, and some of the people involved, do you have any favorite actors or actresses?
I really don't have any favorite actors or actresses, which seems like a very strange thing. But I don't have a favorite. I do know that I tend to, when someone's like, you think about Scarlett Johansson and the films that she's done, sometimes you kind of get in a mood to where you want to watch all their films.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking about, he doesn't have the best films, but I don't even know if I want to say it or not. Anyways, what's his name? Nicolas Cage has got some films that I still want to check out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Crap, I don't know why I can't think of these titles, but what is that movie? I can see the cover art.
Give me some hints. Give me what's the cover art look like?
Hot Pink.
Mandy?
No. Crap. Nicolas Cage is in this one. Anyway, I'll think of it as it goes on. I can probably go find it on the shelf, but anyway, I just like getting, and I'll get into a routine of watching all Nicolas Cage films in a certain time frame. Same way with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp just went through this whole media circus, and I wanted to check out a bunch of his films, but I never got around to doing that because of the Hitchcock month. But Mandy's the name. That's what
Mandy.
I didn't hear you say it. It just kind of clicked in my head. Mandy, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
I enjoyed it.
It's good though.
Pig was good.
Pig, that was my second favorite movie of the year last year.
Yeah, what a surprise that was.
It blew me away. It's so subtle. It's but that's a movie that'll I'll tear up if I start thinking about it too much.
And it didn't even hit our theaters in this area, so I never really knew about it until the release came out.
Same.
And everybody just said, "Oh, you got to see it! You got to see it! You got to see it!" So I watched it and thought, "Man, that's amazing." He doesn't get enough credit for his good work. I think it's because he's done so much bad work.
Paying off debts. He's got a spending problem like we do.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got to pay the bills. But some of I've seen some really bad Nicolas Cage films, but I really want to revisit a bunch of those this month.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's my favorite actor. Like I said, I just kind of get in these little
In the
moods.
phases. Yeah, yeah. I get
Yeah.
that. What about
I
directors?
do the same way with, I'll do the same thing with directors,
Okay.
like Ari Aster or Steven Spielberg films, or I'll get in the mood for something and I want to see all their films, like Scorsese.
Hmm.
You just kind of get in those little moods.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting through. I mean, you brought up Scorsese. Like, I just got The Last Waltz, which I've never seen before.
Oh, I have never seen that one either.
Yeah. And there's like I got New York, like I think around Christmas time. There's so many, and like I just recently watched Kundun,
Oh, I
another.
never heard of that.
So that's a Kino Lorber. That's one of his religious films.
Oh,
So
really?
very much like Last Temptation of Christ and Silence,
Mm.
but it's about the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good. It doesn't feel like a Scorsese film, but it's so strange. But yeah, I definitely get in those phases. I mean, Hitchcock. We just had a Hitchcock month, so we all had phases with that. So
Yeah, I guess it really depends on, people have different themes for the month. Like Ken at Mid-Level Media have the Hitchcock theme.
Yeah.
And so I think he's doing Nicolas Cage this time around.
And when this is coming out, I'm in the middle of martial arts month. So
Oh, are you okay?
yeah, so I have a challenge out called the Triple
Mm.
Threat Challenge. So I'm asking once a week or once every 2 weeks to watch 3 martial arts films.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
I want to do a manageable challenge. I want people to do a manageable. I don't want to like overboard them. I mean, that was my last ABC movie challenge. Like here's, you got to do 26 films. I'm like, that's a lot. So how about maybe 3 once or twice a week?
Yeah. So I would definitely be interested in your recommendations for that.
Yeah, I'm doing the Shawscope. I'm jumping into that Arrow.
Oh, are you okay?
set.
Yeah, I've got that box set.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's like my main focus, and then I got the Eureka separate titles from.
Okay.
They have some martial arts films, but I also have Drunken Master 2 from
Yeah.
Warner Archive, and there's a few other martial arts films that I have just randomly in the non-pile. But yeah, I definitely
Eureka's really good with those films and those
yeah,
sets.
that's their focus. Their new focus seems.
Yep, I get all of those also.
Yeah. Yeah. So directors the same way. You're the same way with just kind of phases. Any stand out to you that like are your favorites that go to though?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Off the
No.
top of my head.
So many good ones. It's hard
Now,
to
if you were in any, I know you said like you're in different moods with that. If you were in any one director's films, who would you choose? If you were just randomly, maybe a lead, maybe somebody in the background.
I would have loved to have been in a Hitchcock film. I love, man, Hitchcock is probably one of my favorites as far as that that kind of style. I always think about Anthony Perkins, Psycho, all those films, The Birds. I like the classic Hollywood type style films. I can picture myself being in those. I can't picture myself being in any kind of film. I'm so awkward and introverted, but I love the Hitchcock style.
So just in the background in a Hitchcock movie, or
yeah, I could be chasing a bird down the street or something. I could be one of those kids running down the street with birds pecking at me.
That movie scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I watched that in school. So
oh, did you?
Yeah, in English class. Yeah, they're like why did you show this to us? I mean, I think I watched it in like freshman year of high school, so obviously I was old enough to watch that stuff. But I was like very surprised that we watched that in school. I'm just like,
watched in middle school we watched Jaws 2 at school. Jaws 2. We watched it in the cafeteria with a movie projector.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was back then when I went to middle school. We had the 16 millimeter film, and that was a big treat for us, is to be able to watch movies at school.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually during the summertime, so it wasn't like during when school was in session. We would go to the school during summer and watch a movie. They don't do that anymore, I don't guess.
No, and I mean in the I know in the 90s, I remember them always having that VHS and also like the TV taped with.
Yes, and then you put the VHS tape in and close it.
And they moved it in, and I watched all the Magic School Bus and Barney, and I mean, but like usually school related things. That was
educational type films.
Yeah, Bill Nye the Science Guy. But we had, and of course, those overhead projectors that like, like have the transparent
Oh
thing
yeah. Mm-hmm.
to see. It's like, here's how you do DOL, and here's basic
Right.
math. And I'm like, thanks for watching. We're gonna watch Schoolhouse Rock. That was something.
Oh yeah.
Watched a lot of that. Yeah. So, man, it's throwing me for a loop. So Hitchcock. Okay. Now, but if your life was a movie title, you had what would your movie title be? That what would you name your whole life in a movie?
Movie title, probably Movie Hoarder.
Can relate.
Yeah, people really love to give me a hard time about my spending. I put out a video a month on what I bought during the month. Man, that those videos get the most hate as far as you do know that there's a war going on and you're out there buying all these movies. I'm thinking, people get really upset when they see that you spent money on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if they would just realize that it is all that I spend my money on, I pay my bills, I pay my house, I've raised my family. I don't do anything else with my money other than just collect movies.
Yeah.
And I work hard. I go to work at 5 a.m, don't get home from work till like 5 p.m. And this is my life. So yeah, this is what I like to be around. So movie hoarding is probably what my movie would be called.
Well, I think I could be in the sequel if if you had that, because I mean, like I was saying at the top, my dad, he's a hoarder, so and he works a 12-hour shift, and I work a 12-hour shift. So like I carried on what my dad does, and I know he likes to come home and he does baseball. Baseball is like his big thing that he collects. He's a big memorabilia collector, but he actually is, like I said, a hoarder. So he puts it away, doesn't have it like displayed or anything like that.
I like to display.
Yeah, I do too. But yeah, I like that title. It hits home. Hits home for me.
It's a clean hoarding episode. It's not like Hoarders on A&E where you can't get through the house.
What's in this box?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can walk. You clearly have a lot of space in there. Yeah. I'm the same way. This room is like the walls are filled, but there's such a big space in the middle of this room.
Yeah, that's what I like it to be nice and organized.
Yeah.
As you pan around, you can see it's nice and organized.
Yeah, mine is similar. Like, see that big space there?
I just love seeing everybody's collections like that. You don't get to see that on everybody's videos. I just love taking a glimpse. Like I see that Trick or Treat Halloween 3 mask.
Yeah,
I love that.
There's some of my indicator box sets, so I've just been slowly moving some stuff over there for some space reasons.
I love it. I just love seeing people's collection. I love it when Stephanie does her room tours.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people ask me to do room tours, but this is the room right here. There's not much to see other than just a bunch of movies on the wall. But I just love seeing what everybody else collects.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's like you said, it's an addiction with the hoarding, right? So I guess thinking about this collectively, right? So thinking about your early memories mixed with kind of where you're at now, and like what we're doing with the community and stuff. How has this medium changed your outlook on life and how you interact with it?
I think mostly my life has changed because of collecting with the people that I've met in the collecting community. Used to, like I said, I'm introverted. I don't really have a lot of people that I talk to outside of my house and going to work every day. And of course, church. So really just having a group of people that I can share my love for movies with in the community has changed my outlook. I don't know, I'm 54. I'll be 54 soon. You would think that I have a bunch of friends, but it's just me going to work and me coming home every day. So I think my life has changed because I've met so many wonderful people that I can share this with. So yeah, I like that part of it.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, there's so many people to still talk to, and I know everyone who's watching this now. I mean, there's it feels weird because it has only been, like we were saying, the last 3 years or something like that, where that's really kind of amped up. But it's really nice. It's nice to have this space, and I mean, like on our various social media platforms too, just kind of, just talking about the stuff we like, and I mean, you were saying earlier about, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and there absolutely is. And like, to me, it's like, hey, that there's a place for that too, right? And like, obviously we want to talk about that stuff.
Exactly, right. It's not like we're trying to foreshadow that or put it aside.
No,
we know what life is going on outside our basement. We do know that there's a war going on. We do know that there's people suffering with high gas prices and all these things, because I suffer with all that stuff also. So this is a nice way of escaping that for a time being,
right?
For the community of people, and just enjoying something in life other than going to work, paying high taxes, paying this, paying that.
Yeah,
I do understand that there's people suffering, and I care about people.
But you can only do what you can do, right?
Exactly.
You have to know where you're at. And for me, like, obviously, I mean, my dream at the end of the day, obviously, this is, I've talked about this before, but like, obviously I have all these things. I'd love to share it somehow in some capacity to either my family or my friends, something along those lines. I mean, partially that's why I have this channel, but at the same time, I would like to eventually one day, I know it would have to, because I know there's a lot of legal loopholes, and if you had a theater, for instance, right, you'd have to get permission by the companies to show it, right? But I would love to showcase this more of in a communal sense. I would love to do that in some kind of fashion, but obviously not get sued, and do it in a way that like is more of accessibility is a big thing for me. So obviously I buy all these things, like for instance, this box set right behind me, the Celine Sciamma box set, that's from Korea. I did a video on it. I don't expect people to buy that.
Right.
Like, I know that's an expensive. I mean, we talked about Wicker Man, right? Like that's an expensive set. I don't expect people to buy that, right? Honestly, I get a little caught up in this sometimes, and don't really smell the roses as much. But at the same time, it's like, you get it, so anyway,
I guess you would get buyer's remorse sometimes also.
Yeah, FOMO, buyer's remorse.
Exactly. FOMO is a big deal, especially in our community. You see people getting these nice things, and you're afraid, oh, that's going to sell out. It's going to sell out. I've got to go and get it. Instead of waiting for the price to go down on Black Friday weekend. I'm really bad about buying it right now because I want that slipcover.
Yeah.
I want it in the collection. And I'm afraid if I don't get it, it's going to go out of print and I've missed out on it. So that's a lot of my buying tendencies, is buying things that are expensive, like that Wicker Man set, just because that stuff does sell out quickly.
So you kind of get caught up in it.
Yeah, but I'm not one that if I got hard up for money, that I wouldn't mind letting some things go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, same.
I can let things go. It's hard sometimes, but me, like I said, I've been collecting since I was a teenager, and as my family was growing up, there were times where I had to sell some nice collectible type items, and I did that so that I could provide for my family. And now I'm at the stage of my life where I don't have to worry about that, and I kind of do overspend a lot, so I can justify that at
sure.
Sometimes.
It makes sense. I mean, like you said, I mean, I don't know what my next stage in life is.
Exactly. You may want to sell things off eventually.
Yeah, and everyone's in different spots, and that's the big thing. Is like, part of the reason I like to do this thing is just to get exposure. Like I was saying, it's accessibility. It's like, well, I did just get the Wicker Man. You can still watch the Wicker Man. You don't have to spend $90. Like, there's all sorts of ways you can find that. I'm sure sometimes it's on Shudder. Sometimes you can just go ahead and rent it on Amazon Prime, or you can go to the library and get it, or go to a local.
There's other ways of getting it.
There's a lot of ways to get it. I mean, that's
buy the old DVD on eBay for real cheap.
Yeah. or even the normal Blu-ray. Like I sold
Exactly.
I sold my Blu-ray that was like $7.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
When I first bought it. Yeah, you can, that's the thing, is like I just want people to check things out.
Yeah,
That's all
exactly.
it is at the end of the day. It's not like, look at me spending all this money. It's not,
100%. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm buying the most. I'm buying the most. I'm the king, you know. A lot of people think that though. They think, oh, you just buying it to show off. But I'm buying it because I love having it in the collection. It's like having your own library of books,
mm-hmm.
you know, but it's with movies. And I know you like books. I know you like reading and things. But I'm not a big reader. I like just having stuff on the shelf. But a lot of people think that I buy them and they just sit on the shelf, but I do watch a minimum of one movie a day, every single day. Doesn't matter if I worked 12 hours that day and I came home, I'm going to throw a movie in and watch a movie at least once.
I try that.
I'm on my second year of doing that, and it's really helped me as far as I'm always trying to justify spending, you know, and it kind of helps me to do that in my mind.
Yeah.
And it also helps me to let things go too, because if I watch it and I wasn't a big fan of it, it goes on eBay. I've always got stuff on eBay to sell.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's good that you have that rotation though.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you don't have
It just
to.
doesn't rotate as fast as I want it to.
Sure. I mean, because,
Yeah.
well, everything's been ramping up. So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to, the input is a lot more than the output, right? You
Right.
can't,
It
yeah.
is.
So, but you don't know how long. I mean, obviously that conversation's been happening a long time, but we're in a really good spot physical media wise, obviously. And I think we are going to be for quite some time. But it is nice to, be where we're at when it is, because, next 20, 30 years, who knows what that's going to be,
Right.
so
I'll be dead in 30 years. I don't see myself being here in 30 more years. I don't know. But I do see myself enjoying retirement. I'm just 7 years away from retirement. And so I'll have this. And maybe when I retire, maybe I won't care anything about this.
yeah,
And I can let
sure,
it
yeah,
go, you know?
different phase. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. 5 years from now, you never know what you're going to be into.
exactly. And that's how it all is. So I guess how we're kind of ending up this, this conversation, what would your final thoughts on this whole thing be? You have anything you want to add?
No, just my main thought is just how wonderful this community is, how I've watched your videos for years. I'm sure you've watched mine, but it's nice just to be able to meet people and talk on Zoom. It feels like I know you for like a long time. So
Mhm.
I think that's what's really good. I think community is the biggest thing for this, collecting community, movie community, whatever you want to call it, is the biggest takeaway for me. Is that you can meet people from other parts of the world and feel like family.
Yeah, I mean that's why we do it, and I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. So
Yeah,
now we just got to figure out our meetups, right? So,
exactly. Right.
yeah.
Right.
So where can everyone find you, Tony?
So you can find me on YouTube, of course. So Basement Blues. I do weekly videos. Instagram. I pretty much stay on Instagram all the time. I do like posting what I get. I like to post what I'm watching, kind of get a conversation going. And I'm on TikTok. Very
Uh-oh.
little, very
Uh-oh.
little on TikTok. It's out there though.
Yeah. Okay. I'll find it and I'll put it in the description,
Yeah,
everyone. So
sure.
you're into TikTok. I know our our older crowd, because you've seen the demographics.
Oh yeah,
Not to
definitely.
say anything, but the 18 down is a little bit. If you are 18 and down, like watching this, good for you.
Oh
But
yeah, thank you.
you're not the majority of the people watching this.
Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah. But anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. Like I said, links in the description for Tony and his channel and all the other social media links. This was a blast, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation, and we'd love to hear from you. So in the comment section down below, we would love to engage with you and interact with you if you have any questions, of course. But yeah, if you like this video, give it a like, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See
I'm
ya.
not bouncing around.